to today's edition of Search the Scriptures. We are on study number 5 in the book of Numbers today, and today's study covers Numbers chapter 8, beginning with the first verse, all the way through Numbers chapter 9 and verse number 14. And we are going to attempt to answer 3 different sets of questions for this study today. The first set of questions comes from Numbers chapter number 8. Numbers 8 is a reassertion of the separateness of the Levites. How was this made clear to Israel? What is a wave offering, and what was the relationship of the Levites to God, priests, and people, respectively? Second question from Numbers chapter 9, verses 1 through 14. How is the importance of Passover shown in this passage, and what can we learn from this? Finally, the third question, what do we see here of Moses' way of exercising leadership, and how did he deal with practical problems when individuals brought them to him? Well, let's look at Numbers chapter 8, verse 1 through Numbers chapter 9 and verse number 14. Numbers 9 and verse 1, the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you set up the 7 lamps, that are to light the area in front of the lampstand." And Aaron did so. He set up the lamps so that they faced forward on the lampstand, just as the Lord commanded Moses. And this is how the lampstand was made. It was made of hammered gold from its base to its blossoms. The lampstand was made exactly like the pattern the Lord had shown Moses. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the Levites from among the other Israelites and make them ceremonially clean. To purify them, do this. Sprinkle the water of cleansing on them. Then have them shave their whole bodies and wash their clothes, and so purify themselves. Have them take a young bull with its grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, and then you are to take a second young bull for a sin offering. Bring the Levites to the front of the tent of meeting and assemble the whole Israelite community. You are to bring the Levites before the Lord, and the Israelites are to lay their hands on them. And Aaron is to present the Levites before the Lord as a wave offering from the Israelites, so that they may be ready to do the work of the Lord. And after the Levites lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, use the one for a sin offering to the Lord, and the other for a burnt offering, to make atonement for the Levites. And have the Levites stand in front of Aaron and his sons, and then present them as a wave offering to the Lord. In this way you are to set the Levites apart from the other Israelites, and the Levites will be mine. And after you have purified the Levites and presented them as a wave offering, they are to come to do their work at the tent of meeting. They are the Israelites who are to be given wholly to me. I have taken them as my own in place of the firstborn, the first male offspring of every Israelite woman. Every firstborn male in Israel, whether man or animal, is mine. When I struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, I set them apart for myself. And I have taken the Levites in place of all the firstborn sons in Israel. Of all the Israelites, I have given the Levites as gifts to Aaron and his sons to do the work at the tent of meeting on behalf of the Israelites, and to make atonement for them, so that no plague will strike the Israelites when they go near the sanctuary." Moses, Aaron, and the whole Israelite community did with the Levites just as the Lord commanded Moses. The Levites purified themselves and washed their clothes. And then Aaron presented them as a wave offering before the Lord and made atonement for them to purify them. And after that the Levites came to do their work at the tent of meeting under the supervision of Aaron and his sons. And they did with the Levites just as the Lord commanded Moses. And the Lord said to Moses, "This applies to the Levites. Men 25 years old or more shall come to take part in the work at the tent of meeting. But at the age of 50 they must retire from their regular service and work no longer. They may assist their brothers in performing their duties at the tent of meeting, but they themselves must not do the work. This then is how you are to assign the responsibilities of the Levites. Now to Numbers chapter 9. The Lord spoke to Moses in the desert of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they came out of Egypt. And he said, have the Israelites celebrate the Passover at the appointed time. Celebrate it at the appointed time at twilight on the 14th day of this month in accordance with all its rules and regulations. And so Moses told the Israelites to celebrate the Passover, and they did so in the desert of Sinai at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. And the Israelites did everything just as the Lord had commanded Moses. But some of them could not celebrate the Passover on that day because they were ceremonially unclean on account of a dead body. So they came to Moses and Aaron that same day and said to Moses, we have become unclean because of a dead body, but why should we be kept from presenting the Lord's offering with the other Israelites at the appointed time? And Moses answered them, wait until I find out what the Lord commands concerning you. And then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites, when any of you or your descendants are unclean because of a dead body, or are away on a journey, they may still celebrate the Lord's Passover. They are to celebrate it on the 14th day of the second month at twilight. They are to eat the lamb together with the unleavened bread and bitter herbs, and they must not leave any of it till morning, or break any of its bones. And when they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all of the regulations. But if a man who is ceremonially clean and not on a journey fails to celebrate the Passover, that person must be cut off from his people, because he did not present the Lord's offering at the appointed time. That man will bear the consequences of his sin. An alien living among you, or you who wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover, must do so in accordance with its rules and regulations. You must have the same regulations for the alien and the native born. Well, let's look at question number 1. In chapter 8, it's a reassertion of the separateness of the Levites. How was this made clear to Israel? And what is a wave offering? And what was the relationship of the Levites to God, priests, and people, respectively? Well, when the Levites were presented as a wave offering, it signified that they were the contribution of Israel to the work of the Lord. In Leviticus, we're told that the wave offering belonged to the priests and was to their benefit. Likewise, the Levites were set aside to serve the priests in the tabernacle. Their ritual cleansing, which was applied to no one else in Israel, and the laying on of hands, clearly sets the Levites apart. The Levites were to serve the priests, and as priests, as they served the Lord on behalf of the nation of Israel. And God required that they be set aside in exchange for all the firstborn of Israel. God required the firstborn of Israel in exchange for the firstborn of Egypt, which died in when the angel of death passed over Egypt. The second question for Numbers 9, 1 through 14, how is the importance of Passover shown here, and what are we to learn from this? Well, the importance of Passover is shown by the fact that even those that were ceremonially unclean from touching something dead, or those that were on a journey, were commanded to participate along with the foreigners that so desired. This fact, coupled with the fact that anyone who was home and in a state of ceremonial cleanliness that did not participate, they were ordered to be executed. That serves as a clear indicator of the seriousness of this celebration. We must never take the sacrifice of Christ and our deliverance from sin for granted. If we fail to worship Him, even the rocks will cry out on our behalf. The final question, what do we see here of Moses' way of exercising leadership, and how did he deal with practical problems when individuals brought them to him? Well, Moses did not make a move. Literally, he did not make a move without a clear word from the Lord. Moses sought the direction of God in all things, large and small. I hope you are seeking God's direction in all things, large and small, in your life. I hope this study has been a blessing to you, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. God bless.